Hello guys. Look, I wouldn't say long time no see, but I have actually uploaded a video in January. But I wanted to say welcome back to the monthly vlogs. I don't know how exciting this one will be because I am moving this month, which is very exciting in itself, but it just means there will be loads of things to do. And just generally, I guess, coming back to work, and then just getting back into some of my other hobbies and stuff as things begin in like this second and third week of January. You're just kind of getting back into a little bit of a routine. But I wanted to start these vlogs again because I know I stopped, I think my last one was in July, and I think I only meant to really stop doing it in August and then I would pick it up. But it's just the case that when you kind of stop doing something and then I'm doing this just because I want to, and you're like, oh well, no one's really forcing me to do this, you don't end up picking it up again. So I want to again do this because I enjoy looking back at the vlogs for myself, because they're a nice reminder for myself of like just seeing the seasons change and just seeing the different things that I'm doing and just seeing like me change as well. So yeah, I'm bringing them back. So let me talk to you about books. So first off, let's talk about this. This is a poetry collection by Jackie Kay that I just started yesterday. I go to my local library often to work, and what that really means is I go there and work and then I stare at the books on the shelves, and then I end up checking out like 2 or 3 books. At the moment I think I'm on like, well, I've got like 6 books out and 12 like reserved, so I don't actually think I can take out anymore. I didn't really know there was a limit, but when I'm looking at other books that I'm searching, instead of allowing me to reserve, it's now like add to wish list. So I think there's a 20 limit, although, you know, 12 reserved, 6 out makes 18, so I don't really know, so maybe the limit's 18 then. That makes more sense. But anyway, I ended up checking out this book because I was like, oh yes, I can't remember what I've read by Jackie Kay, but I have read something by her that I quite enjoyed, and I know she's very well loved in Scotland, and I like her. So I was like, oh no, I think I read her, it's like a book about her adoption and what life was like for her growing up, because she grew up in like Bishopbriggs, which will mean nothing to anyone if you don't, I guess, know Scotland, but I used to work there. So I think that's the one. So I've only read like 2 poems, I think. The first one's spectacular. This collection is dealing with like sickness, illness, yes, and health. And that first poem was so like, I read the first poem without going back to read the blurb, and it was just so evident in that poem like what she was talking about. And it's a really long poem, which I really liked. So excited to continue with this. I borrowed this from the library probably like a month and a half ago, and I haven't started it, but it is my next fiction read. Don't recall that I have read a fiction title this year. I've listened to one, so that's false. But I've not read a physical book yet, or digital book. So it's going to be this one. I'm not too sure what this is about. So it's very, very unhelpful. 2 strangers, a Ghanaian psychiatrist and an American studying the habits of foxes. Oh, someone goes missing, right? Yeah. There is someone who hasn't called home in a while. It emerges that she has been swept up in an immigration crackdown, and now her young son is missing. So it's to do with those 2 characters, how they meet, where they meet, and then this search for this person. And I assume it's going to deal with, you know, what it's like being an immigrant, things to do with working class culture, things to do with racism. I assume it's going along those lines. And then a book that I have been reading for a while is The Telemore, I'm sure it even tells you how to say it in the book, so I should know, effect. I started this last year and it's taken me quite a while to get through it, mainly because I don't know that I really want to read it. I heard about this book when I was reading Gabor Mate's The Myth of Normal, I believe, and this essentially is about like aging. Basically it's to do with your telomeres, however you pronounce it, and how that is an indication of like, you know, I guess your health and how quickly you will age. It's not always to do with all these external factors that we think, but a lot of it is kind of like already within us, but you can also like lengthen your telomeres and all of these things. And what's nice about this book is not written as like a kind of like self-help book. It is written in the sense of giving you information about sort of research and studies that have been done on this, but at the end of each chapter they have this thing called a renewal lab, where they give you like practical things that you can do, which is all the things that we know to do. But I think, you know, sometimes it works to like know why you're doing these things, you know, maybe that will be the reason why you then continue. Usually if I wasn't like really enjoying a book, I would just like stop reading it. I've been very graceful to myself in the past couple of years with things like this. I think it's because I don't actually not enjoy reading this. I just never find myself drawn to it. It's not actually like terrible or boring, but I just think, oh, there are many exciting other things I could be doing or reading. Whereas sometimes when I'm just like, I just DNF a book, it's because I simply do not enjoy the book and I'm like, life's too short. No, I'm actually like, life's too long. I don't want to read this. So that's where we are with reading. Can't promise you that this vlog will be very, very interesting, but I'm going to try my best. But in the meantime, I will definitely talk about my reads and like everything that is going on. And I do hope today to film my best books of 2023. So yeah, hopefully that'll be up by the time this video is up, because I already did one halfway through 2023 talking about my first books, my favourite books of the first half of that year. So yeah. I have just finished filming my favourites of 2023. And the video is so long. I'm so sorry. I thought I was making it shorter. I think as I carried on, I got like a little bit shorter. But the video is so long. But I wanted to touch on the reads, what I'm reading now, because after I filmed that clip, I went to the library and picked up 4 books that I had reserved, and they were all fiction books. Yay! So I'm going to show them to you. So I ended up picking up these 4 books yesterday. The first is this. I feel like I've been waiting for this for months. I have been waiting for it for months, but finally came through, woohoo! And I need to read it in 2 weeks because it's reserved. But I don't know if this is like, I feel like this is fiction, but it is actually inspired by the author's life. This is called the Copenhagen Trilogy, and this has got childhood, youth, dependency. They have been published as individual novels. But it says it's following one woman's journey from a troubled girlhood in working class Copenhagen through her struggle to live on her own terms. This is a searingly honest, utterly immersive portrayal of love, friendship, art, ambition, and the terrible lure of addiction. Struggling to remember where I heard about this one, or if I just came across it myself. That's why I'm struggling to remember whether it's non-fiction or fiction. We'll soon find out, because I feel like that blurb doesn't really help you decipher that if you were confused about it. But anyway, it's translated. And then I picked up this book, Consent, by Leo Benedictus. I've had this in my Amazon basket for a really long time, so I was just like, let me just pick it up. It says Frances is bright, young, and single, enjoying her life and her career in the big city. But after attracting the attention of strangers, her life begins to unravel, a seductive novel of power and complicity. Consent shows how vulnerable we are to the wills of others, people we may not even know. I feel like there was another book that I was looking at, yes, Consent by Annabel Lyon, which I have kind of down on my list. And then when I was searching for it, this book also came up, and then I clicked onto this, and then it was just like, that sounds like something I could actually be interested in, so I picked it up. And then we've got Lakewood by Megan Giddings. Again, I remember when this kind of came out, everyone was talking about it on the booktube. And it did sound like one that I wanted to read. So I thought, why not? I believe this is to do with like kind of like experimentation and black bodies, if I can remember properly. It says when Lena's grandmother dies, the full extent of the family debt is revealed. The black millennial drops out of college and takes a job in the mysterious and remote town of Lakewood. On job, her paper is too good to be true. All she has to do is participate in secret research programs, an eye drop that makes brown blue eyes, a medication that could be a cure for dementia, golden pills promise to make all the bad thoughts go away. But the consequences for the subjects involved could be devastating. This novel takes an unflinching look at the horror that has been forced on black bodies in the name of science. Yeah, I very much remember this. I think this is kind of like gothic-y horror, not really my genre, but I thought it sounded interesting enough that I could, read it and see what I thought. And then the other book that I got was this, which is The Second Woman. I'm so glad the library had this, because there was an article that I read which was talking about sort of like new upcoming thrillers or something. I'll link it in the description box down below. And I just really appreciated the article because it wasn't just the kind of like BA Paris thrillers and stuff like that. These seem to be just a little bit more deeper, not as very much surface level, and I think they really will give you that annoying, uncomfortable feeling of, every day-to-day life kind of, not, I was going to say thrill, but uncomfortableness. And I think that's what this book is very much touching on. It's very much touching of that undercurrent of like domestic violence, and like coercive control and things like that. It says here, Sandrine is unhappy in her body, her house and her life, but none of that matters when she meets her man. He makes room for her, a place in his home with his son. He cares about where she is, who she is speaking to. He loves her intensely. Everything would be perfect if only the first woman, the one from before, would just stay away. I am 83 pages into this book, and yeah, you can see it is a lot about control. Just these very minor things that are said, the way that you kind of read up on people's body language, tension in the room, anticipating how they're going to feel. And yeah, this man, his wife disappeared. There was this whole thing on the story. And now his wife is back. And I've just gotten at the bit where I think it's the day before his wife's parents are bringing her back to like the village. So yeah, this is translated novel, so I believe the author is French, so I believe this book is also set in a French town. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm thoroughly enjoying this at the moment, but I'm looking forward to kind of getting more into when I'm assuming the two women meet and we're kind of able to see how, like, one, what happens to this woman, like where does she go, how she managed to come back and stuff like that. But looking forward to the ways in which they kind of, like, I guess, communicate with each other and how they kind of like pinpoint what this man has done, basically. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. I don't know what to do now. I really want to edit that video, but I think I'm going to go out and do some errands and maybe go for a little walk. I kind of just want to go on this one errand to like find chocolate cake, but that feels like, I don't know, it feels like not the best sole use of my time. But anyway, we'll see. I am here to wrap up my January reading vlog. I just got really busy towards the end of January after I filmed that video. I was moving stuff and then I felt unwell. I just haven't felt very well until like today when I'm filming this video. So I just wanted to give you the stats and what like January looked like in terms of books. So in January I ended up finishing 7 books, and I'm looking down at my laptop here, so that's what's going on. I'll just go from the first book I read and whatnot. So the first one I read and finished was the Psilocybin Handbook for Women, which I mentioned in my video of like books I want to read for 2024, but the like non-fiction edition of that video. And that was like a really interesting read. I will say I didn't feel like it very much focused on like a lot of issues by women. There was like one chapter and the rest I think was just like general knowledge, but okay, very pleasant read. The next one that I finished was a poetry handbook by Mary Oliver. I actually borrowed this from the Scottish Poetry Library and I really enjoyed it. It was really good to actually once again sit with the craft of poetry. I don't think it means I'm going to fall into the trap of like, you know, fall into just, you know, using all these techniques to create my poems, because I just feel like that's not me. I guess I haven't been born a poet from the kind of structure of this is how you construct a poem, but I thought it was very interesting to see. It did remind me a little bit of school and how, you know, you get to grips with like metaphors and similes and all these sorts of things. But yeah, I also find it funny in some of the bits where she was showcasing kind of some of the techniques and saying this is like a great poem and this is what makes this a great poem. I was like, I think that's an awful poem, but I think these things will always be different for people, and you know, people have these classics for a reason and it's just not my reasoning, it's not my enjoyment. But I thought that was a really great reference book and I'm going to purchase it for myself. I then listened to The Death and the Decorator, which is part of the Feathering mysteries, so it's number 21 and it's by Simon Brecht. I don't know what made me think of this, but I was just a bit like, I haven't read that series in a while. Like, is the man dead? Is he still continuing the series? I realised that he'd written a book either in 2023 or 2022, so I listened to that and that was fairly pleasant. 3 stars. It was nice to be back with like Carol and Jude, who are kind of main sleuths, so that was always nice. Then I read the poetry collection Don't Call Us Dead by Dinah Smith. I know this was very popular like when it first came out, and I get it, they are an amazing poet. I gave this 4 stars and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And then I read The Second Woman by Louise May. I gave this 4 stars. Again, another book that I thought was absolutely brilliant. This is translated novel, but absolutely fantastic. I heard about this in a article, which I'll try and find the article and link it down below. Thought it was brilliant. Lakewood, I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I thought it was alright. And yeah, those were the 2 books that I picked up from the library in that, like, one of those earlier clips, and managed to start and finish them during the month. And then I also finished off the Jackie Kay poetry collection, which I gave 2 stars. I thought it was okay in the end. It didn't blow me away. But yeah, so 7 books, and in terms of what that looked like in overall kind of ratings, it was 3.5 stars for the month, and then I put the graph here so that you can see that sort of breakdown. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in another one. Bye.